Hey, 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 what it is, what it do, what it be. You guys know what time it is, and yes, you know where you is. Yes, once again, it is that time for the I Am the Possible podcast experience. Yes, the place where possibilities become perspective. Yes, welcome once again into the I Am the Possible universe. I want to thank you all so much for rocking with me once again. Guys, before we jump into anything, as we always do, I got to pause for the cause. And you know what the pause is. You know what the cause is, I should say. It's you. You are the reason I do what I do. You are the reason I keep showing up. You are the reason that I am here, and you are the reason why this thing is successful. Thank you guys so much for every comment, for every email, for every recommendation, for every review, for every question. Thank you so much for just showing up and being in the place. You guys know that one of my philosophies and one of my absolute beliefs is that your presence truly is the greatest present that any of you guys could ever give me. So thank you so much for rocking with me this week. Now, guys, this week, let me jump right into it. We're dealing with something that we all deal with at some point in time, the self-concept. We are all looking to fulfill this idea of greatness, achievement, accomplishment. We all want to feel accomplished. We all want to feel like we matter. We all want to feel like our life, amounts to something. And I'm here to tell you something, and I want you to listen, and I want you to really lean into this, okay? This is something that I believe that God shared with me earlier this week that I now want to share with you. Greatness is not a destination. It is a design. Your design. Now, let me say that one more time for the people way in the back. Greatness is not a destination. It is a design. Your design. Greatness is in your DNA. And I would even go as far as to say greatness is your DNA. And this week, I'm going to share exactly why I believe that. Now, one of the things that I know from a personal experience, a personal perspective, and I've witnessed this so many times in the lives of those that I've ministered to, I've mentored, I've worked with over the years, whether it was in the church, whether it was in corporate America, people struggle with feeling for themselves, feeling acceptable, like they are enough. They're enough of a husband, enough of a wife, enough of a minister, enough of a brother, enough of a leader, of a manager, of a coworker. It really doesn't matter the context. People struggle with like accepting themselves and feeling accepted by themselves. See, many times this self-concept, and I'm going to be getting more into that in today's episode, as well as this week. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I have a monthly newsletter. It's actually a monthly video newsletter that I send out each month. And we deal with the inner dialogue. We deal with self-talk, right? And we deal with really improving our intrapersonal communication skills, that inner dialogue, that self-talk, that conversation that's going on within us, right? And one of the things that I've really come to understand and really come to appreciate is how our design sometimes discourages us. The self-concept, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we view ourselves, it discourages, it disheartens, it deflates. And that's really what I deal with in my new book, What Is Enough? I've got a copy of it right here, and I'm going to be reading an excerpt from this book later on in today's episode. But I really wanted to call out the fact that many people are living a deflated life because of their design, or should I say, the way that we perceive our design. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking as one who for many, many years struggled with accepting myself and feeling acceptable, feeling like I was enough, feeling like my life mattered, because I was so obsessed on my flaws. I was so focused on my flaws. I was so obsessed with what was wrong with me, right? You guys have heard this many, many times where there can be 100 things right, or should I say 99 things right with a person or with a situation, with a product, right? It can be 99 things right and just one thing wrong. And we will find a way, we will figure out a way to focus, to zero in on the flaw, the one mistake, the one thing that's out of place, right? You can comb your hair, right? If you had long hair, I don't have hair anymore, right? But if you had long hair, right? And you were combing your hair and the majority of your head, right? All of the hair on your head was perfectly combed, but there was this one hair that was out of place. Instead of looking at all of the other hairs, right? All of, your whole head is full of these perfectly groomed hairs. You and I, we just figure out a way. We find a way to focus on our flaws. We find a way to focus on our failures, on what's wrong with us, instead of celebrating what's right with us. And so I know from a personal perspective, and I know that I'm speaking to someone today because God put this on my heart, that we are struggling with accepting ourselves, being acceptable. And the problem with this sort of self-concept, this deflated self-concept, when we are not accepting of ourselves, one of the biggest problems is in the workplace. We show up at work and we are not someone who is there to give, but we're someone there to get. Okay, and I'm be sharing some more about that in just a moment. But we're there to get versus there to give. Now, when we go to work, we really should be, and I'm really jumping the gun here as I always do. Okay, I'm just going to accept it. I'm just a gun jumper. Okay, I always jump the gun, right? But the idea is that we go into work, we go into our places of employment. We may go into I don't know, any place where we are really there to contribute. Some of us go to church, for example, or even within your own family design, within your own family structure, right? You show up in this place where you as God's contribution really could be having a great impact and really contributing to that environment, to that moment. But instead of you giving out of who and what you are, you're actually there to get. Now, what you're there to get is validation. What you're there to get is an idea of your value and an idea of your worth. So you're working for instead of working from your value and your worth. You have it all twisted. I had it all twisted. Many of us, we have it all twisted because we're born into this twisted mentality, right? We're born into this insecurity, right? As much as we're born into sin, we're also born into this insecurity about ourselves. And we will nitpick and we will find something wrong with ourselves. And we'll say to ourselves, whether we're aware of it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not, we will say to ourselves, I'm not good enough. I'm not acceptable. I'm not enough of this. I'm not enough of that. And we may use other words, right? We may not articulate it like that, but we might use other words to express the fact that we really just don't accept ourselves. And today, I want to help you to accept yourself a little more. I don't have a magic wand. I don't perform magic tricks. I can't solve all your problems in one episode, but what I can do is I can sow some seeds. I can make you aware of some things. I can present some things to you, right? Some ideas, right? That are going to help you to cultivate and begin to create a greater concept, right? Of yourself, okay? Because that self-concept is going to help you have a greater conversation with yourself. Right? Because that self-concept, it is leading, it is guiding the things that you say, the things that you do. It becomes your motivator. It motivates the things that you do. It motivates the words that you say. And if your self-concept, if it's twisted, if it's off, if it's not congruent with God's concept of you, your creator's concept of you, then you will be living a life always looking for and hunting for and begging, even silently, begging for approval, begging for validation, begging for someone or something to prove to you that you matter. And that's not the way that we were designed to live our lives. And so I want to jump right into this by sharing with you just a quick story from my own life. Okay, I grew up in the Midwest, and around 7 years old, that's when I really started to have my self-concept, my self-value, my self-worth really attacked and distorted. Okay, it started when I was around 7 or 8, and I became conscious to the way that I speak. Okay, I was already a chubby kid. I was already kind of getting picked on and kind of bullied because I was overweight. And I was already kind of feeling some type of way about myself because of my weight. And so just to pile on, right, while I won't go down that path, I want to zero in on my speech, on my speaking, because a big one for me was stuttering, right? Stuttering for me and not being able to articulate my words, not being able to say what I feel, not being able to start a sentence with words that started with certain letters for whatever reason, you know, whether it was my tongue, my mouth, my vocal cords, I don't know. But for whatever reason, a part of my design was this stuttering. Now, I'm not saying, okay, hear me clear. I'm not saying God cursed me with stuttering or God made me stutter. I don't know how. I don't know why. I haven't done enough research, and I really don't care how I got to that point. Here's what I do know. It was where I was, and it was who I was, and other people were making me feel bad about it. Right? I don't know if you can identify, but in those formative years, people, kids, other people, whoever, they will make you feel bad and they will draw attention to your flaws. So for me, I'm going to just share about stuttering. Stuttering for me was horrible, okay? Extremely horrible, because many times you got something to say and you don't feel confident saying it. It's like your voice, your power, your authority is taken away. You're trying to have a conversation with a friend and you're tripping over your words or you're stumbling over your words. And now either if they're a really good friend, they're just kind of looking at you weird. Like, man, what's wrong with you? Or if they're a bully, like many of the ones that I ran into, then now they're making fun of you. Now they're picking at you. They're calling you names. They're making you, as we like to say nowadays, they're making you feel some type of way about yourself. Now, again, you put this in your context. You name it, you frame it, whatever it might be for you. What's your flaw? What's your failed design? What is it for you that you've zeroed in on? That's, you know, while you got 99 things good, it's that one thing about you, or maybe 2 or 3, because I got a couple of things that I don't really care for. What are those things that you just tend to obsess over? You tend to focus on so much. And it makes you have this poor self-image, this poor idea of yourself. You know, let me just pause real quick. One of the missions that I have, and it just came to mind because I really meant to share it when I first started. I really got to get back to it. You know, one of the missions, or let me say this, the mission of this podcast, and truly the mission of everything that I do, no matter, you know, I may package it differently, I may present it differently, but ultimately, the essence of what I do, the seed of what I do, what I believe God's really called me to do is to share ideas that inspire an inspiring idea of you. I'm gonna slow that down and say that one more time. My mission in life, my entire mission is to share ideas that inspire an inspiring idea of you. I want to help you see you better. I want to help you feel better about you. I want to help you think better about you. I want you, when you wake up in the morning, if all else fails, if everything else is out of place, if everything else is wrong, if nothing else is going right, I want you, when you think of you, that there's a smile on your face. I want you to love you. I want you to like you. I want you to accept you. I want you to embrace you. I want you to hug you. I want you to fall in love with you. Not from some egotistical perspective, not some arrogant ego or what's the word? Conceited, big-headed, none of those things. I just see a gap in the system called life. I see a gap where we are just not feeling very good about ourselves, and I see the destruction that it's causing in the world, and I just want to do something about it. I just want to do something about it, because there is a healthy space where you can truly see your value and see your worth, and when God reveals that to you, when he gives you a revelation of your own personal value and worth, along with that, because I'm speaking from experience, you then see that in all of humanity. So it doesn't put me above you or above anyone else. What it does is it equalizes us. We are all equally precious, all equally valuable, all equally worthy of loving and accepting our lives just as it is. And then we can build from there. We can build from there. I'm not saying don't go after a great life. I'm not saying that there's no work to be done. What I'm saying is acceptance should be the baseline. We should be building from acceptance, building from value, building from worth, building from high self-esteems concerning ourselves. That should be the building block for everything that we build our lives upon. Okay, guys, you know how I do. You know how I do. I didn't got all off track. I got all off script. Let me get back to this, guys. Going back to my earlier statement, greatness is not a destination. It is a design. It is your design. I feel like we are in what I would describe, what I would describe as the great unawareness. The great unawareness. And what I mean by this is that never before have I seen in my 46 years of living such a great unawareness of our value in and of ourselves. Like, apart from achieving something, attaining something, right? Accomplishing something. It's like we place everything about ourselves on something that we're wearing, we're driving, we possess, we have, we've done. It is like our accomplishments lead to our appreciation, but it's actually a false appreciation. It's a false appreciation. Because if you truly appreciate something, like a diamond, for example, I got my diamond ring on, right? I got my wedding ring on, and there's diamonds in there, and there, a certain level of clarity and color and cut and all this other stuff that kind of goes into the value of the diamond. Well, the diamond is just a diamond. It is what it is in and of itself. You don't have to add anything onto the diamond. You just appreciate the diamond for what it is. And that's really where it stops. You don't have to add. There's no addition to make the diamond any more valuable. It's worth what it's worth because of what it is. And we are worth what we are worth because of what we are. But in this great unawareness, this stage of life that I see society in, it's like we need to have something. We need to do something before we can be something to the person that matters most, ourselves. It's not about impressing other people. I'm talking about you accepting you. And that's really where this book came from. What is enough is a question and it's an answer. The question is, what is enough? What do I have to do to be enough? What do I have to do to be acceptable? What do I have to do to be enough of a father, enough of a mother, enough of a child, enough of a boyfriend, of a girlfriend, of a coworker, of a leader, of a manager, of a minister, of a layperson? What do I have to do? Like, you put it into your context. But there are so many people in this world asking the question in their hearts, what else do I gotta do so that I can one day, someday, somehow feel satisfied in the person that I am? People are asking that question. Again, they may not be able to articulate it. So I'll be your voice. I'll be your voice. And if I'm speaking to you today, let me be your voice. Let me give some words to those things that you are feeling on the inside. And perhaps you know somebody who needs this word. Each one teach one, man. Share this thing out. Get this thing out to somebody who might need what I'm saying. Because maybe you're not in that place, but maybe you know someone who is in that place, and you can be the bridge. You can be the hands. You can be the feet. You can be the Jesus in their lives. You can be the one that connects them to something. This ain't about me. It's about the revelation. It's about what I'm sharing, right? The information that I'm sharing, the ideas that I'm sharing to help you and to help whoever else might need it to come into a successful self-concept. A concept about the self, about you, just you, in and of you, without all the additives, without all the added things, right? Just you. And so, I want to share a story out of this book. I'm going to read it from my screen down here because I need to be able to see it, right? Just because I need to be able to see it. But if I read it from the book, I might not be able to see those words. And so I've copied it from my digital version. So here, let me just read this passage for you from the book. Hope that it blesses you. And then we can continue on. All right. My shirt was dripping with sweat. My heart was pounding through my chest, and my chin tilted up to the sky as I took long, deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. I had just finished another great workout, and I headed as usual to the hot box, aka the sauna, for a little R&R before hitting the showers and heading out. It was just another day at the gym, or so I thought. Before I could even close my eyes, an extremely thin and very talkative young lady started a conversation without any introduction or asking me whether I minded. It was as if she needed to share her burden. As she rocked back and forth next to the hot coals, she began to tell me how she was attempting to sweat just a little more because she needed to drop just a few more pounds to reach her goal. As she spoke, she vigorously pinched and pulled at her stomach as if to express her repulsion at the sight of her tiny 22-inch waist. Now, obviously, that's my guesstimation, but her waist was extremely small. Okay, she was extremely thin. Her words took me by surprise. I couldn't imagine why she felt this way. Losing more weight was the last thing she needed to do. By my estimation, she was about 5'6" and couldn't have weighed more than 120 pounds. She then went on to tell me how she worked in real estate and how she was a successful agent. She was currently pursuing one last certification, and once she got that, these were her words, she'd finally be able to brag to her family and feel good about herself. Those were her exact words. I don't know much about real estate, but my wife, she has her real estate license, and what I know from watching her go through that rigorous process of getting licensed is that this woman already had plenty to be proud of. She went on to share with me the stress she experienced due to the pressure from her older sister, who was very successful in her own right and was constantly telling her to be thinner, to be trendier, to be more aggressive in the workplace. Her sister said that that would ensure that she could keep up with the millennials who were her competition now. As this woman continued talking, she began to pull at her hair and describe how the stress had gotten so bad that her hair was starting to fall out. Literally. Can you relate to this? Watching her behavior and listening to her words broke my heart. She may have thought she was just making some small talk by sharing a few situations in her life. But what she was really doing was helping me to see what she thought of herself. Her beliefs were choking out her confidence, suffocating her sense of significance, and stealing any satisfaction she could have in herself. I was witnessing a woman suffering from something in which I had grappled with for years, and many still do today. It's called deflation. In her mind, everything that made her anything was somewhere out in the future. It was something yet to be achieved and to be attained. It was something outstanding, something she had to do. And I'm going to read that line one more time because I think that's super key. In her mind, everything that made her anything, everything that made her anything. See, many of us are determining for ourselves what makes us great, what makes us good, what makes us acceptable. Many of us are trying to determine for ourselves, and that's the problem. Because in our own minds, we've said, God, we don't care what you think of us. We are going to determine for ourselves what makes us acceptable. And that's the danger. We focus on our flaws, and the truth is the only flaw is focusing on your flaws. Take that. The only flaw is focusing on your flaws. You don't have a flaw. Your flaw is focusing on what you think is a flaw. I'm going to just let that one sit on you for a while. I'm going to just let that one sit for a while. All right. Let me get back to this. Everything that made her anything in her mind was somewhere out in the future. It was something yet to be achieved and to be attained. It was something outstanding. It's always outstanding. It's always yet to come. Something that she had to do. That's deflation. The burdensome belief. It's a burden. The burdensome belief that my worth is something for which I work and must be earned with an exhausting effort. Are you at that place in your life where you think that your worth is in your work? I've got to work to get my worth instead of I work because of my worth. That's what I meant earlier about going to work, to the job, to get a sense of your worth, of your value. When you were not designed to go to work to get, you were designed to go to work to give of your value, of your work, of your significance. But so many of us are going to work to get it. And that's why you're never satisfied. That's why it never works, and it never works out for you. It never worked out for me either. I'm not preaching at you. I'm preaching, right? This is us, because I was there. I know it. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know the pain of trying to get something from someone that can't give it to you. But I also know how great it feels to finally be shown the way by God, how I can live from, work from, contribute from the value that He gives me. Let me finish up. That's deflation, the burdensome belief that my worth is something for which I work and must earn with an exhausting effort. It's exhausting. It's the idea that I'm not going to be enough until I do enough. And even then, it's going to happen someday in the future, but not now. It's not now. It's always in the future. We're always postponing what's possible. We're always postponing. We're always putting off. We're always putting off until tomorrow. We're never satisfied with ourselves. We're never satisfied with our efforts. We're never satisfied with anything that we do. We're always, and someone pays us a compliment. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm trying. Yeah, that was good, but I got 10 more to go. It's like we are terrified to say, I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I'm good with that. It's like we're afraid to let our guards down. We're always working towards something else, something more, to try to be something else and something more. Here's what the Bible says about that. Here's what God says about that. Here's what your Creator says about that. I won't go into all the passages, but I would encourage you this week as one of the actionable steps, one of the things that you can absolutely and should absolutely do is read back through Genesis 1 and 2 and 3. Like, really give it some attention and really look at it through the lens of a willful creator. A willful creator. No one made God do anything. He willfully created. And if he willfully created, it means that whatever he created, he wanted. That's the genius of it. If he was a willing creator, it meant that he wanted everything that he created, including you and I. In Genesis 1, God created the earth with dust on it. And you know where I'm going. The earth, the land, the ground, it had dust on it. But if God created it, he wanted it. Later on in that same passage, let us create man in our likeness and our image. So he created you and I. We were wanted because he was a willful creator. Later on in that passage, God looked over everything that he had created and he determined it was good, acceptable, pleasing, and as good as it's ever going to get. That's how that word good is translated. It's as good as it's ever going to get. So you and I, we are already as good as we're ever going to get. There is no improving in God's eyes in the idea of being accepted and being worthy and being full of worth. You are already there. All these things you do in this world are by choice. You create something, you start a business, a ministry, you do this, you do that, you contribute here, you contribute there. Whatever you do, that's on you. But you ain't got to be doing nothing to earn his love, to earn his acceptance, to earn his appreciation for you. For people, yeah, it's always, what have you done for me lately? Yeah, for people, that's how we do you. We do you like that. What have you done for me lately? Absolutely. That's man, me included. That's right. That's how we do you. But God doesn't do you like that. God says from the beginning, I've already evaluated this. And you, a part of my creation, my willful creation, you're already good. You already validated. You straight. You ain't got to do nothing else to earn my love, to earn my acceptance, to be valuable in my eyes, to be valuable in my estimation. You already straight. You already good. People will do you dirty. God, he loves you from the beginning to the middle to the end. Same as yesterday, today, and forevermore. His love, it never fails. Period. End of story. So then it goes on in that same passage. Then it goes, now to the next chapter. Now in Genesis 2, it talks about how man was formed. God formed man from the dust of the ground, from the earth that he willfully created. So he wanted it. So the dust he willfully created. So he wanted it. And then he's forming us who he willfully created. So he wanted us. He blew the very breath of life into man's nostrils, and man became a living being. You and I became a living being by the very breath of God. If and because that's true, God's DNA is within you. God created the earth that had the ground, that had the dust, that formed you. You were wanted earth. You were wanted ground. You were wanted dust. You were wanted forming and creating and crafting you. And then he blew his own breath into you. There's been a recent study in Denmark and in another country. I forgot what the other country was. But there's been a recent study done. Can DNA be taken from our breath? The answer, yes. Yes. Not only is not only is greatness in your DNA because he already created you in his likeness and his image. You was already good there. But oh my God, science now proves that through our very breath, you can pick up DNA strands. That means that you are filled with Godness. You are filled with Godness. Greatness. That's a great God. Look around you. Sun, moon, stars, oceans, fish, birds, everything in perfect sync, perfect harmony, systems in perfect form, and has been going successfully since we can remember, and it has never failed. When it's winter, it's cold. When it's summer, it's hot. When it's fall, the leaves fall off the trees. His systems never fail. He is a great God. And you and I are filled with his DNA. That means that greatness is our DNA. You're great in and of yourself. You are filled with great. Filled with greatness. It's not only in your DNA, it is your DNA. Can you wrap your head around that? Can you, huh? That's what you are, man. So how dare us, like the woman in this book, like I've been so many times, like you may be right now, focused on your flaws and failures, not giving yourself credit, never being enough, never amounting to enough, never being acceptable in your own heart, in your own mind. You keep pushing yourself away. That self-concept is distorted. And so now, and I won't get into it in this episode, you have to go to my LinkedIn newsletter. You can also catch it on my YouTube channel. But I'll really go in deep on the self-concept and how that informs our decisions and the directions that we take and all of that other stuff. It really determines the quality of life that you experience. And that's why this is so important. Because if you understood, if you understand, if you accept the fact that your very DNA is greatness, then that will inform your self-concept, which will then override and oversee the internal conversation, the internal dialogue that you're having, that's then going to dictate the decisions that you make and the directions that you take, which will then end up being the quality of life that you create. And in the same sense, when the self-concept is poor because you don't accept this information, then you can see how that ripple effect happens in a negative sense. What is enough? You. You are enough. And of course, you need to read the book to get all the information. I won't let all the cats out the bag, but you are the answer. You are enough. Ah, yes. I know it makes sense. I used to say, I hope and pray that that makes sense. No, I know it makes sense. I do. I know it makes sense. Let me drop you guys a few more thoughts and ideas that I had. Again, ideas that inspire, an inspiring idea of you. I want to share with you just a few more quick things. Number one, and I'm just reading from my notes here. The goal is not to achieve greatness, but to believe greatness. To believe that I am that which is already great. Yeah, that's it, man. Like the real work is not in achieving greatness. It's really in you believing greatness. Believing that I am, believing that you are that which is already great. It's not about trying to become great. It's about living from great, being great, and doing things that are in alignment, things that are congruent with, things that are that express the greatness that you are. That's what this life is about. One of my flagship quotes, one of my, just one of my ideas that I always share with folks. The greatest thing that you'll ever become is accepting of what you already are. The greatest thing. If you can just find a way to accept yourself as you are, where you are, and then build from there, it's the greatest achievement. Because in this world, that's not how this thing is built. That's not how this American structure is built. That's not how this country is built. This culture is built. This thing is built on doing something to prove it. So the greatest thing that you ever could really become is just simply accepting of that which you already are. Another point that I wanted to make. Many of us, again, as I actually stated earlier, many of us are going to work seeking proof of our greatness when we should be going to work to provide our greatness as a service and as a contribution to the betterment of those around us. Okay, just giving you guys some more ideas as I wrap this up. And then the last idea. As a contribution of God, as a contribution of our Creator, our perspective should always be, I'm here to give, not here to get anything from my work. I'm here to give. I'm not here to get anything from my work in this context. Should you put in an honest day's work and feel good about what you've done? Yes, I absolutely believe that. Yes. Should you feel good about a job well done? Yep, you should. There should be some satisfaction in doing a good job. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. In this context, though, accepting you, feeling good about you, finding value in you, it should never be dependent upon your work. The perspective should always be here. I'm here to give out of my greatness, not to get proof of my greatness. Guys, earlier I started off and I shared, about the stuttering. I've improved. Over the years, I've improved. I don't stutter nearly as much as I once did, and I don't stutter the way that I once did. There's still a few words with a certain letter and letter combination that will trip me up from time to time. Absolutely. If I get too excited and I don't slow down, I can definitely stumble and fumble and get words twisted up. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And here's why I'm okay with that. Not only does it give me a platform to share my struggle that other people can relate to, but it helps me constantly be reminded of how great God is. I'm a podcaster. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a preacher. I'm a communicator. All I do is talk. Everywhere I go, I'm a teacher by spiritual gifting. All I do is talk. This is my tool. Talking is my tool. Talking is my gift. Talking is my everything. It's my benefit. It's my purpose. And yet I can have a little bit of a struggle in that area. Wouldn't you think that God would use the one that is flawless in this area? Sure, he has them. There's some great speakers, some great orators in the world that don't stutter. Absolutely. But for me, I appreciate that he could use me in spite of, that he could use me and give me such a confidence to get on stage after stage, to cut on camera after camera, to go live on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these other places and whatever, go to church and preach on a Sunday morning. I mean, to be able to do that and once be so isolated, so fearful, so intimidated, so deflated by the very thing that he's now using to contribute everything that he's put in me and invested in me, all the revelation, all the love, all of the knowledge, all of the wisdom, everything that he downloads to me, he wants me to communicate it out of my mouth, the very place that I've had the biggest struggle. That's pretty cool, man. That is pretty cool. So what is it for you? What's that struggle? What's that thing, man, that in your life you would say, this is my handicap, my flaw, the part of my design that I don't like and wish wasn't true for me? What is that thing that God could use, that God could flip and make great use of in and through your life if you would allow him to? What thing can you testify about? What thing can you bring light to willingly and say, hey, look at me. I did this, or I still do this, yet God still does this in and through my life. This is my shortcoming. This is where I get stuck. This is where I fumble and stumble. But God is still able to do in and through my life these great things. I didn't even mention a personal trainer at one point. I've been certified twice to be a personal trainer. But even when you're training somebody, you're talking to them. You're communicating to them. Everything I do is I'm talking, man. But he would use the very thing that I struggle with the most. So I encourage you to consider that this week for yourself. What can God do? What can you give to God and say, God, this thing right here, this thorn in my flesh, this burden, this little thing right here that just keeps irritating me. What can you give to God and say, use me anyway, use me anyhow? Why? Because greatness is in my DNA. Why? Because greatness is my DNA. Why? Because I'm made in your likeness and your image. Why? Because you're God and you're great and you can do some great things through me despite how I think and feel about myself. Oh God, what can I give to you today? What can I give to you this week? That would make no sense to anyone else. That would make no sense in our current culture. The culture and friends and family, they would say, "Oh no, honey, you ain't good at this. You need to go over there and do that." But I thank God that I didn't ask anybody anything. I thank God that I never had to ask anybody, should I? He spoke a word through Pastor Eric Brown 20 years ago that changed my life. He confirmed to me that I was a teacher spiritually. He walked right up to me and said, "Travell, you are a teacher." I didn't have to wait to ask anybody, should I? It was just confirmed. That was my story. I don't know how yours is going to go. But I just thank God that I never had to ask anybody, should I? And I would encourage you that if you are hearing what I'm saying right now and it's resonating with you and you know about that area in your life and you know how God's been tugging and pulling on your soul and pulling on your spirit, you don't need to ask for man's validation. You don't need to ask for man's permission to do nothing that God's already told you to do. Sure, you can run it by your mentor, your counselors, your trusted friends and family. You can run it by your pastor. You can run it by people, but at the end of the day, it's between you and God. And people can only see so much of you and they can only understand so much of you. So don't let their opinion of you be the final say. Guys, let me give you 3 things for this week for you to do to come closer to a personal revelation of your greatness. Number 1, I want you to observe in your own personal life. What do you do good already? In fact, what do you do great already? What areas of your life are you already flowing organically, naturally? You're already good at it. People compliment you on it. You get life from it when you do it. You feel energized when you do it. There's a smile put on your face every time you do it. You look forward to doing it. When you do it, it's not like torture, like tugging and pulling, but it just kind of flows out of you naturally. Other people, they might find it super hard to do it. Like my wife, she always says, "You're the voice, you're the one, that will get up there. You speak, I'll stand here and look beautiful." But, so for her, maybe getting up in public, speaking might be a lot of work. But for me, I can't shut up. But on the other hand, she does some things with some children and with some organizing and with some event planning and with some galvanizing of the troops and pulling people together around a vision. Oh my goodness. She does that with ease. People listen to her. They follow her. She's able to bring things together. They work out excellently. People compliment her. All of the events that she plans, she does, they just go off without a hitch. I mean, amazing anointing, amazing gift to bring things and people together to work in such a way that it creates an amazing experience. Now, you put me in that position, it's lights out. Because as soon as one person says what they don't want to do, I'm just totally checked out. Because I'm not a galvanizer. I'm not a come on man, let's do this. Or come on man, I don't pull teeth. I don't push and pull, man. It's just if that ain't what you want to do, good, no problem. Let's Anyway, I digress. My point is, you know what you do good. Observe it. Take time this week. Cut the phone off, cut me off, cut everybody off. Sit, think, go for a walk, whatever, however you get down. But find a way to just pull away and observe yourself. And ask yourself those questions. What do I do well? What gives me life? What gives me energy, right? So you're starting to observe yourself through a lens that is positive, right? And then I keep putting these assessments in these show notes. Use these assessments. I'm going to continue to do that because they are vital to you understanding how you're created and how you're built. So use the assessments I put in the show notes. If you're watching on the tube, and you should be watching on the tube because I'm getting my tube built up, okay? I'm going to put these links to these assessments into the show notes of the podcast and into the description of the YouTube channel, okay, for this season. I'm gonna just keep putting them there, just so that everyone has an opportunity to see them and to utilize them. And then finally, personal coaching, okay? I'm here. If you want that one-on-one personal coach, that one-on-one mentor, somebody in your corner, someone working with you one-on-one, helping you, really figure things out, really put the pieces of the puzzle together. If you really want that level of accountability, you really want to work with someone who actually cares, who really wants to work with you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to criticize you. I'm not here to be a hard ass. I'm not here to do all that stuff. I'm here to come alongside you and support you as one who understands what you're going through, who understands that pain, who can speak to that pain and through that pain and can help you get from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. If that's what you're looking for, then I also want to encourage you to click the link in the show notes and click the link in the description. Let's get on a quick discovery call, about 15 minutes. Let's talk. Let's see if we're a good fit. And hey, let's work together. All right. That's it, guys. That is it. Oh, yes. Another one down. I'm so excited. We got one more coming up. The big one, 100. And I'm not going to do nothing different, man. I've seen so many people just go bonkers over episode 100 of their podcast. This is 99. We got one to go. We're going to hit that 100 next week. And I'm going to just show up like I always show up. I'm going to just do what I always do. I'm not blowing up balloons. I'm not sending out bells and whistles, man. This is my work and I love it. I love episode 100 just like I love episode 1. So for me, certainly not trying to be a killjoy, but I'm not tripping on the 100. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have a great word, a great message, a great idea that is going to help inspire an inspiring idea of yourself. But I thought about it and I said, nah, I'm not going to just follow the trend and, do a big rah-rah thing just because it's episode 100. They all should be the same. Love, compassion, passion, empathy, knowledge, information, inspiration, innovation. These are the things that I do, and this is who I am, and I don't think it should be any different with any episode. So, guys, thank you so much for rocking with me this week. I pray that you guys have an amazing, amazing week, and I will see you on next week, all right? Until next time, this is Travell C.W. Lynch, Mr. What? And I am your self-worth specialist telling you, you are what you are. And what you are, it is enough. Love.